need you to tell us, being so accomplished in your world and in your field, can you tell us what is your secret sauce to success, John?
I think it's surrounding yourself with great people. I have not accomplished a single thing alone. There's nothing I've accomplished. Client might hire me this afternoon. They might love my work, but they should probably thank Kathy. Kathy Rogers, while I didn't have her as a teacher, she's far too young to have taught me.
Yeah.
But boy, I've learned. She has taught me, and I've learned a lot from her. That lifelong learner piece. I haven't done anything alone. And so you're going to be surrounded by people. Make sure they're great people. Make sure they're people that you admire, that you'll learn from, that will help you grow.
Beautiful. So you mentioned this a little bit earlier about how the world is changing really rapidly. How has social media impacted the PR industry?
It has given voice to the individual to an extent that has never been. The printing press
Yes.
was such a huge leap forward for the reason. Then the press itself. But social media has made it so that a single outcry can resonate around the world and bring real action and real change.
Make things a priority.
Yeah.
Right, because the community can rally behind it and it becomes a real issue. Yeah. Okay.
And so that's changed everything.
You're right.
Not necessarily for the good.
But in your outreach, I remember working with, when I was Chief Marketing Officer at Carol's Daughter several years ago. For us, our PR agency, Trachtenberg, they used to just do journalists, but then we had to fold into that them doing influencer outreach as well. So I feel like the PR function now has to include journalist outreach as well as influencer outreach. And that seems to be maybe a little bit, it feels like it's bordering on unmanageable because the number of nano, micro, macro celebrity influencers. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And really, you have influencers that have a reach that some media outlets would covet.
Exactly.
So the reach is there, influence is there. You also, the social media also gives us analytics that are remarkable. It's not, at the beginning we just looked at reach for social media, but now we see engagement, and we can see types of engagement. We can see, is this someone that action, that you can gauge action, that action is directly attributable to, which has always been the challenge with public relations, is how can we tie what we're doing to the bottom line? Social media makes that easier.
Okay.
Better, faster, stronger.
Very well. Wonderful. All right. So do you happen to have a dream client you'd love to get your hands on to just kind of really like reshape their image through PR?
The Vatican has always been one that I thought would be one that it would be great for the world to understand any faith, every faith better. But I thought that would be one because there have been times that I thought they could use some help.
Of course. All right. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, John. We appreciate all of your pearls of wisdom. For all students who are interested in this field, we hope this has been valuable to you. Dr. Kathy Rogers, we just continue to love on you for all the love you've poured into all the PR students here at Loyola University and all that you continue to do in the industry as a leader as well. And for any people, any business people, any business owners or brand managers who are interested in PR, I invite you to consider Deveney Communications. So we'll see you on the next episode. Albert, I want to keep going. I just stopped there, so it's clean, but I want to do the PR myth debunked. Can I just pick that back up?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. So, hey, everybody, it's Olivia.
Close to your camera. Okay, anytime.
Ready?
I was on the other shot. You were looking at the wrong camera.
Oh, okay.
So now I'm on this camera. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
You're a single camera.
Hey everybody, it's Olivia right here at Loyola University New Orleans with another Behind the Ad episode. Today we're going to really get into debunking some myths about PR. We had a wonderful conversation with John Deveney of Deveney Communications about what actually is PR and how it's different from advertising and marketing. But now we want to go into really debunking some myths out there that are pretty wildly held. If you're ready, I'm ready. John, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So we've compiled a list of common things we hear about PR, and we really want you as the expert to tell us if they are true or false.
You know, the first one is probably, is it true that PR people are better than any other discipline? That's not true. That's not true. We're just workaday people like everybody else.
You're right. I'm going to cross that one off. So
Okay.
that's number one.
All right.
Number two, to your point. PR generates sales. True or false?
PR can generate sales.
Okay.
PR should generate sales.
Okay. How?
So I just heard on the radio that you can rent a live Christmas tree. It's like $100. They deliver it to your house. You have it the whole season. You have to water it daily, and then they come and pick it up. Isn't that a great deal?
That's a great deal.
So I would do that.
Right?
That story most likely started from a PR person placing it.
So it was a story. It wasn't an ad.
It was not an ad.
It was a story. Someone was talking about it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Awesome. All right.
And also, you didn't hear the radio story. I did. I told you about it. Word of mouth, and word of mouth is absolutely one of the tactics within PR.
And word of mouth is still, I believe, the most effective and proven advertising tactics out there, period. Right? You ask people all
I wouldn't
the
say
time.
it's advertising.
Okay, even when I said the word advertising, I was just like,
Yeah.
would you say advertising or marketing?
Because
What would you say?
I wouldn't say advertising, because if it was advertising, then the advertiser would have control over how it was disseminated.
Right.
So I wouldn't say it's advertising. If you wanted to say that it was that word of mouth generated by advertising, but I talked about a news story that I heard on the radio. So the journalist would absolutely chafe at the idea that it was advertising.
Agreed.
So I would say, now, word of mouth is powerful.
Okay.
It's got great reach. It's got influence and authority. But the Pew Research tells us still that earned media still has greater influence.
Yes. Greater credibility.
That's exactly it.
Yeah,
and I disagreed with that. Mm-hmm. And there was some research that was done, and I called the researcher, and I said, you're telling me that if I read it in the paper, I would give it more credibility than my own experience or the experience of a trusted colleague or a loved one. They said yes, and they said, do you like to eat? And I thought, Olivia, I thought they were lost at this point. I said, I love to eat, and I was like, I'm in New Orleans, there's no way. They said, let's say you went to Heavenly Ham. I was like, okay. And you had a bad sandwich. It wasn't good. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I would tell everyone, we suffer with a lot in New Orleans, but mediocre food is not one of those things. Everyone that was in an elevator with me for more than one floor would learn that not to go there. She said, okay, what if you then read in the paper that what Heavenly Ham is doing with their potato salad is close to religion, and what would you do? And I thought about it, and I realized I would discredit my own experience. I would think that I caught him on a bad day, and I would go back and give him another try. Mm-hmm. So it turns out, and I've met food reporters that used to do the baseball scores, so it's not like I know how the sausage is made, but earned media still has even greater credibility, like it or not.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Number 3, PR is all about spinning the truth and propaganda. Truth or false?
That is that's false. That is absolutely untrue.
Okay.
That's
Clear.
absolutely untrue. Let me tell you, have I had clients that wanted me to present things differently? Absolutely. You know why? Because they wanted the reality to be different. They wished it weren't so.
Right.
But it was.
Right.
Could I have misled media and gotten things reported a little softer? I bet. Mm-hmm. But had I done that during Katrina, I wouldn't have been hired for BP because I wouldn't have credibility. Once you start being a propaganda machine or being dishonest, you need to find a new job.
Yep.
No one's going to hire me. If they can't trust me, no one's going to hire me.
Yeah, there has to be some kernel of truth in there. Now, from my experience in PR, and I'm trusting you as the expert here, I've seen some things that have been positioned a little bit differently than what they were, but at the core, there's always something that is truth. It can't just be complete puffery.
You mean that PR does have connections to propaganda?
I wouldn't say propaganda, because that word is
spinning. I don't like this. I don't like spinning either. But
right.
So there are times that I will say the truth is not. Can't. I'll give you an example. Hurricane Katrina. Mm-hmm. Following the hurricane, there was flooding, terrible flooding, and there were days of reporting about toxic soup, witch's brew, that the water was, that the floodwaters had brought so many chemicals and things together that contact with it was lethal or close to, that there were orders that if you came in contact with water, you needed to report to the military and be quarantined to test and all that. So we go through days of that sort of coverage, and then I hear from the scientists that no, the water was fine, everything's good, the environment's better than it was. And while that was good news, I said that I can't use that.
I can't.
no
Absolutely
one.
not.
It's great to know that that's true, but the truth isn't going to sell. What are we? Right. And so I said, you're going to need to kind of walk me through how I would understand this to be true. And they said, well, weather is part of the ecosystem process for cleansing. Mm-hmm. And if you think that wind and rain are cleansing agents, hurricanes are like the loofah sponge of the ecosystem.
Correct.
So it came through and it really scrubbed and cleaned things so that it makes sense that the air, the water, the ground would be cleaner now than it was before, and that made more sense to me.
It does. That makes sense.
I also think part of the reason that maybe there's that perception is sometimes the PR person learns more about the situation than the general public, and that's our job to try and share that learning and put it in perspective. But absolutely, anything inaccurate or dishonest ultimately would come back and haunt the client. One of my areas that I work in is a crisis, and the insurance industry has identified that most of the cost of crisis is not in the triggering event. It isn't the fire or the flood. It's how that was handled. A misstep, a misstatement.
That's where the costs come in.
That's where it gets worse.
Well, that leads very well into my fourth one, which is PR is only for a crisis. Hence, if I have a good product and I have no issues, things are going wonderfully well, I don't need PR. Is that true or false?
False.
Okay, tell us why.
That Christmas tree, that wonderful company that rents, no crisis, but they're advertising isn't what just won them 2 more clients.
Absolutely. 'Cause I think I need to give them a phone call.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
But so no, public relations. It's working with the uncontrolled medium. So public opinion, word of mouth, those sort of things. Public relations is powerful in those arenas.
Got you. All right. And finally, all publicity is good publicity. Good or bad?
False. Absolutely
I'm
wrong.
sorry. I have to do that again. Okay. All publicity is good publicity. True or false?
False. Absolutely false. Think of different crises,
Right.
and think of those missteps. Publicity, of course, is different than
PR.
PR, but no. And when you think that there are so many bad headlines out there, how would anyone defend that every headline's a good headline?
Right. I have one final add-on. Since you mentioned it, publicity versus PR. How do you define the difference between the two?
Publicity is very targeted to drive attendance and followers. So publicity is promoting an event or a individual or performer, and it's elevating the appeal and the draw that the event or the individual would have to attract people to attend the concert, buy the book, read the book, tune into the podcast, that sort of thing. Okay. So publicity is very specific to driving support and attendance for an event or person or group.
Okay. And then PR is more of an overarching strategy.
And PR really is, public relations is guiding the role that an entity can or should have in the world at large.
Okay.
So, who does this business want to be when it grows up? And helping guide it on that path.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It has been a pleasure and an honor.
Absolutely. So, for all of you who are curious, just like me, and perhaps plagued with what's the difference between all of these different thoughts around advertising and PR and marketing, John Deveney has taken time out of his life to come and set the record straight. And also, these PR myths, I hope that you listened up and that you are more enlightened for watching today. Thank you for joining us here on Behind the Ad. We'll see you soon.